Shooting it raw?
Yes, shooting it raw. Okay, so I get very excited when I hear people, because I don't know you. We welcome you into your world, and then it's like a blank canvas where you don't know where I'm coming from. And so the podcast, I don't know if you noticed this, is 4 main themes, because that's kind of where my interest is. One is creativity, creative expression. One of them is conservation, because I'm a conservationist. One of them is this thing called service leadership, right? So for 15 years, my career has been about helping entrepreneurs, business leaders. So as a business consultant, help become greater people, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like that's really what service leadership is about. It's about helping people become better, in however that manifests. And the fourth one, which is a consistent theme, is strong women. It just so happens. Okay, there you go. So you flex. They can't see you on the podcast, but you flexed. Very nice. Nice.
You're very strong.
Yeah.
We try. Actually, we'll get to there. But I will tell you about my next challenge.
Wicked.
Which is about getting a bit stronger.
Wicked. Okay,
Yeah.
so for this image. Okay, so I love that I get. Okay, so let me have to describe it. There are 4 people on a stage. You're all wearing masks. I'm assuming. No, are you? I can't really tell. So the photograph.
The second one.
The second one is you?
Yes, correct.
Okay, so on the stage, it's lit from above. There's a couple of screens. It's called Detour 2020.
Correct.
Design Festival. Design Dialogues. So it's like a panel discussion. You're the second in this panel. You don't see how large the audience is, but how about you walk us through this photograph?
Sure. So you described it very well. So we are on the stage, and as you could see from the background, so that was Detour Festival talks, and this happened actually on the end of 2020. It was 6th of December, and I remember how thrilled I was, because actually until the last minute we didn't know if this will happen because of COVID situation. Like situation changed like almost like every day.
Sure.
So are we going to be on lockdown or not? Right. So actually that's why this picture is so valuable for me. Like it's so strong, because it's also showing like how hard it was to do absolutely anything in 2020.
Right.
You had to just pray, especially if it's something physical. Online, okay, like you are pretty sure it will happen.
Yeah.
But in point of this physical locations, and especially talks with public, that was something like very unsure. So actually next to me on the right hand side, you can see Ernest Cheng, who is one of the coolest artist in town. I need to introduce you to him, by the way.
Cool.
And he was part of the exhibition which we talk about. So what we were talking on the stage was the exhibition which we pulled together with 11 artists called #StopGap2020.
Okay.
And the idea was to bridge cultures from Europe and Southeast Asia, and showcase the familiar pictures and also the differences between the experience which we all went through in 2020. So it was all new works, new artworks, paintings and sculptures which artists produce over lockdowns.
Okay.
So that was the
Right.
theme. And on my left-hand side, there you can see my 2 co-founders, Agnieszka Mori and Carolina King. And together we created this platform called Clip Arta. And the platform is bringing emerging artists from all around the world to Hong Kong. And we are co-curating shows with local partners, such as PMQ. So in this case, it was a PMQ, the Cube, during the Detour Festival, which is annual event, and it will happen also this year.
Okay.
So yeah, and what's really cool about the picture, it's showing the entire loop of the last 2 years. So as I mentioned in the beginning, I started my entrepreneurship journey, and it was something on the beginning super scary, because it's like when you are having a stable job, paycheck every month, and and everything is clear. Like it's like you have clearly defined roles, like what you should do, and then you decide to be entrepreneur, and nothing it's certain, right? And everything is changing, and it's always pivoting. So in this right moment where I was sitting on the stage, it's kind of this my journey like reached kind of the third chapter. I'm calling it chapter, but it's like kind of stages. So the first stage when I started 2 years ago, it was to create a platform, content platform. And podcast was my first venture, actually. So Arta Stories Behind Art, it's still existing, and it's also one
Plug it. Yeah, we're going to put the links for sure.
And I started it because of actually Ernest. Ernest was an artist who really inspired me to start the podcast. And back then I was still working in the office, and Ernest invited me to his studio, which is nearby in Wan Chai, and we had like amazing talk. And he's conceptual artist, so actually most of contemporary art world right now is very conceptual. So if you don't know the story behind, you won't really enjoy sometimes the artwork. You just look at it. It's like it's like sometimes
it's opaque. You can't really step into it.
Exactly. Sometimes like you are going to a gallery and it's like why this is here? It's like it's just this question mark. Is that actually art? Then when you know the story behind, when you know the artist, when you know the processes and the technique and the most important idea, you start to like love it or enjoy it or hate it. Like like you can have any sort of emotion, but you have some kind of emotion, and that's already great. So we were drinking, we drink, I think, 2 bottles of some champagne or something. We were in really good mood, and we had this great conversation. And he had this exhibition coming, and I was like, you know what, like we should definitely record it, and you can just tell me what you just told me now about your inspiration and all the process, which was like super intense and like beautiful and brilliant. And then you can send it to your clients, right? You can just send it to people who are you inviting for the show, so they can listen first, come to the show, and voila, like they actually get what you want to do. And we done it, and it was absolutely awesome. And I just fell in love with podcasts. So that's how I started podcasting. And from this idea, I kind of thought it's like, let's do something even more intense, like videos, because I think like with contemporary art, you also want to see see what you are talking about. So then I also started a YouTube channel. So that was the chapter number 1, was podcast and YouTube. In the meantime, I decided to quit my job. I was like, okay, I'm going to make it work. So that was chapter number 2. After a few months, I actually got in touch with many people who started to listen to the podcast, and they were really interested. And some of them were collectors, some of them just people who were interested in art, but they just didn't have access to events, and they wanted to know what's going on in town. Then I realized that like doing something online, it's cool, but also bringing people to galleries and kind of connect on like this one-on-one, like literally like meeting people would be also really fun. So I started this art tours where I was bringing people to artist studios, the one which I actually did podcast with. So of course I already knew the story behind, I knew the artist very well, to the galleries as well. So depends on with who I was going. I was preparing this like bespoke tour to show them what they are interested in, because there's so many areas, of art. And so that's the second chapter. But then I started the art advisory. So I went a bit step further, but that's another photo. So I'm not going to go to it, which I have.
Take a breath. Take a breath. I invite you to take a breath.
Sure.
Okay. So
I will eat some berry.
Eat some berries. Eat a pickle.
Sorry if I'm talking too fast. By the way, just let me know, because
no, it's
I'm
great.
just excited.
You're excited.
I just wanted to tell you so much.
I know.
You need to stop me.
And I like it. I'm stepping in for a moment because I need to kind of also convey. So it's a podcast about photographs, which is dumb, but it's also very warm because it's not. But whatever. So we're talking about this. as we're speaking, I'm sitting on your sofa or on the couch. There's the image here behind us, and the image itself is just as an anchor point. It's basically 4 people sitting on a stage. Behind is this printed. So the 4 of you are talking. I guess they're talking about art or talking about the theme of whatever the event is. Now, what's on the actual poster? What is it? It says matter, matter, matter. What is that? Is that what it says?
It's the theme of the Detour Festival.
Okay.
It was Life Matter, I think.
Okay.
Life Matter. So every year there is a theme
Okay.
for the festival. And basically the festival, what's happening is that many people are applying to get rooms in PMQ. So PMQ has these rooms which can be like a galleries, right? So
Okay.
you can actually have a room. Like
PMQ
if you have,
is a building?
PMQ is a building. It's in central of Hong Kong. It's
Okay.
on Hollywood Road.
Okay.
And it's basically, it was, before I think it was a school, if I
Okay.
remember. So it has, as you can imagine, many like classroom
Sure.
rooms.
Yeah.
And each room, it's something,
Space for-
it's a space
yeah, okay.
or for crafts
Yeah.
or for art. Or something creative.
Right.
So actually, if you will go there tomorrow, like you can see many different
Right.
like local designers,
Yeah.
local artists who have studios there. And then once per year, they are doing this detour, which bringing people from outside, like for example, Clip Arta, so our venture. And once they have confirmed team, you are writing your idea, like
Sure.
what you would like to bring to the festival.
Right.
And then you can apply about the space, basically.
So somebody who's listening to this, who's hearing about the main heading of the podcast is, if life really is a gift, how do we make every second count? You know, that's really kind of ultimately what we're trying to do, or what I'm trying to do with the podcast and the conversations. So I love the idea of you living your life and evolving however it is. You're drinking champagne, you're having this great conversation. Then for whatever reason you go, I'm going to do something a little different, something creative, something entrepreneurial. I'm going to try something new. And you let's record this and see what happens. And so if somebody's listening and trying to get inspiration for trying something new, so why was it scary? Because people always use that word. Oh, it was a scary moment of uncertainty and all that. But is this the first time you ever did something where you didn't know what the result was going to be? You know, in a way, like you just sort of walked up to the diving board and just jumped and said, I don't know what's going to happen. I'm just going to go. So is this the first time? Or walk us through the feelings you had when that kind of got you to start something different.
Well, so in this specific case, it's a bit stupid, but I still have a bit of problem after even 2 seasons of Arta. I still have a problem with that. I hate my voice, and that's right.
I love it.
Yeah. So and then I was like, yeah, let's record it. And in this right moment, I was a bit tipsy, right? So then I came back home, right?
Okay.
So I was like, oh my god, I will need to record it, but then I need to edit it,
Yeah,
right? So
yeah,
you need
right.
to I need to listen to myself,
Right.
and I absolutely hate it. Like, I mean, the recording was great because I had so much fun.
You're
and
saying
that's
this
the
is
entire
still
thing.
an issue?
It's still an issue.
Come
yeah.
on.
I'm not sure if I would be able to listen to this one.
Too funny. Too funny. I love it. It's really funny. Okay.
So for me, it was I just absolutely hate my voice,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, okay, but I promise I was myself actually, and I had so much fun of doing this. So I need to just overcome this thing and just listen and suffer.
Yeah.
But I just need to do it. So that was one thing, and second thing for sure, it's the fact that when you are doing something new, you don't just look stupid,
Sure,
right?
yeah,
You don't want to. In having a podcast and having the right questions
Sure.
and ask the right questions,
Right.
is actually quite difficult, to be honest. It's not. It's easy to ask obvious questions,
Right.
or maybe don't go to the bottom of something interesting because it's art.
Okay, so
I think it's art itself.
I think what you're saying is making me feel self-conscious now because
oh my God, I'm sorry.
I don't prepare. The whole point of it is to have a conversation. I'm not sure where we're going to go. People say, can you send me the questions in advance? No, I can't because I don't know what we're going to talk about. Because part of, I think, the magic between people is the kind of the unprepared thing. So when I burst out laughing because you're really self-conscious about your voice, I find that really funny because of all the things to worry about as a podcaster, you're gonna have to get over the sound of your voice because when you're editing it, you're listening to yourself, and this is something that I'm very aware of is that we have the conversation, and then when I go home and I edit it, I'm essentially listening, re-listening, dissecting. I don't mess around too much with it, but it's like I burn the conversation into my head. So whatever I learn from somebody just gets reinforced, which I find really inspiring. And I can't imagine that you sit there while you're editing it going, I don't like the sound of my voice.
I almost destroyed my computer, like literally, because I was like, oh my God, like it was actually not how I said it, but what I said it. I was like, oh my God, like I'm just going to like, the first few, it was hard, but then I learned as well to have slightly better, it's still not perfect whatsoever, but right, so all these voices, which when you normally not paying attention to it, but then when you're editing it,
you hear it again,
and you hear it again, and you are just thinking, how I can do it.
So let's turn it into a lesson for somebody who's listening to this. Like, how did you get beyond that? What lessons did you learn along the way after 2 years? I mean, do you still sweat it? Like,
no, it's much better now. I think, like with everything in life, and it's not about podcasts or only. It's about everything. It's about practicing and kind of recognizing what make me upset. So, for example, so this is what I said. I sometimes. English is my first language, so I would mispronounce something, or say or say actually hundreds times over 10 minutes. So I would pay more attention to it, try to pronounce words better, and get better, and then it will not frustrate me, and I'm actually a better person. And it's not about only podcasts, but also about any conversation I have in life. So definitely it's galvanized my life in this point, and I think it's to, instead of getting angry and shouting and break the computer, just let's just breathe and look at what I have done and try to do better next time. So it's always improving. So
this brings up something interesting as well. So in your house, you grew up with your parents speaking Polish, and that's it? Or how many languages in the house?
So my entire family is in Poland. So purely that was Polish. I used to know quite well German, so that was my second language at school. And I was using it quite well. But then, of course, after. So
what's fascinating to me, like right now, in talking to you, I've become aware of. But believe it or not, I've only now been awakened to this idea, like, you're actually frustrated because you're speaking in a second language and you're communicating in English, which isn't your mother tongue, and that's a kind of a barrier or a step to get through. But through our conversation, as how you are in my head, or whatever, that's not even didn't even occur to me. You know what I mean? Like, it didn't even occur to me that you'd be self-conscious about speaking in English because we're communicating about as effectively as I ever communicated.
I mean, so I don't have problem with English at all because I was
clearly don't.
But of course, like the accent always will stay there.
You have a very Mexican accent, absolutely. Super strong.
So the funny thing,
Sorry,
funny thing.
yeah.
You're saying Mexican now, but most of the time, if you will meet me in the morning, some people will say that I am Italian because I am more Italian.
Okay.
Then afternoon, I am more like something in between,
and French.
then it's going to French.
Oh,
Especially
really?
if I would have a glass of wine, I am definitely French. And people will say straight away I'm French. And it's really funny how it's changing even in one day.
Amazing.
I can go through like entire Europe, you know.
That's
so
great.
it's like it's absolutely amazing. Yeah, I'm sorry, but what was the question?
There is no question.
No, but I mean, so funny enough, if you would be Polish and we would talk Polish, I would be probably also really upset at myself because Polish is a really hard language, and to be honest, even it's my first language, I would make some mistakes, or I would, especially now after over 13 years of being abroad and living in different cities all around the world, my Polish, I would say it's not that great.
Sure.
So.
Okay. Well, it's a skill. I mean, you brought up an interesting point about my podcast. I don't really ask questions. I talk for a while, and then the person goes, "Is there a question?" And then we go in that direction. Okay. So let's use this as the excuse to move. Would you like to say some more? Okay. Let's go to the next photo.
Yeah.
Okay. So is it this one? Is it this one? Or is it this? Sorry.
This one.
This one. So is life really a gift? Really? Can you make every second count? That's the whole point of the podcast. So if you like what you've seen and you're inspired, because that really is my mission, then please give it a like, subscribe, and share.
Shooting it raw?
Yes. Shooting.